he's the rave of the moment right now. We know right now you have two Nigerians actually ruling the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We have one of them in the studio right here. I mean, we have the current interim middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya. He's right here in the studio. Israel, it's good to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right,
so we've made good on our promise, just like we hinted yesterday, that he's going to be here, and you're seeing him live and direct. There are a lot of questions people want to ask you, and a lot of things.
He said he's ready. I love that.
But first things first, how did it all start? Why this kind of sport?
This sport. Well, for me personally, when I first started fighting, let's take it back all the way back. Christian School, baby Keja. So that's where I started first with Taekwondo. That was my first original style.
Okay.
And then I started kicking everything in the house. I was doing backflips off the couch, and my mom was like, no more, because I broke my arm. So she said, no more Taekwondo just before I got my yellow belt. So that's after white belt. And then I think I started dancing, and then maybe 2008, I got into Muay Thai through a friend in New Zealand. And I started kickboxing, but initially, from 2005, I started watching the UFC, but I thought you'd never pay me enough to get in the cage and fight another man, ever in my life. Like, I'm mad. No way. And then, yeah, kickboxing. But for me, I always felt I never want to be vulnerable in any situation, because I've seen many street fights in my time, and I've seen, like, a lot of fights end up on the ground. And a lot of people are just clueless. That's a different world to learn how to ground fight, so I had to learn. I was like, you know what, for me, it's just my vulnerability. I don't want to ever feel vulnerable in any situation. So because of that, I learned how to fight on the ground and learn how to fight against the fence, learn how to fight standing up, and then I'm one of the greatest fighters in the world now. And to prove it,
yeah, you got this, you brought it right here.
Because now I'm the UFC middleweight champion. And Kamaru was the first, Nigerian or African-born UFC champion, but I'll be the second, because his win was my win as well, was our win, and this is our win as well. So let me flex this real quick.
Okay.
Make it look nice.
Well, it's your time under the sun, and I guess nobody can deny that. But help us link it properly. Somebody introduced you, like you said. So the in between that and when you made your first fight, what was the story?
Okay, so I think I started, like I said, 2008. And I remember when I first kicked the pads, my first trainer was holding the pads. Like, do you know how to kick? And I was like, I think so. And I kicked the pads, and I remember the look in his eyes, like, oh, like he was like, yes, excellent. I found something. And 6 weeks later, I had my first fight, and I was like, just nervous, scared. And I remember, like, after the first 10 seconds, I dropped him with a push kick to the chest. And this guy was definitely overweight. It was not in the weight limit, but this was back roots and stuff. And the guy was a little bit crazy, but yeah, that gave me confidence, and before that, I just felt like I wanted to keep doing this. I wanted to chase that dragon, and I've been doing that ever since.
All right.
Okay, ever since, which is pretty cool. Now, you said you started way back in the Keja, right here in Lagos now. 16 years you've been out of the country, went to New Zealand. What took you out?
Yeah.
Was it because of this particular fight, or you were searching for something?
For me, no, my parents, we were going to move to the States in 2001, but then 9/11 happened, so my dad was like, we're not going to America, it's on the verge of war. And then moved to New Zealand. So I've been in New Zealand now since 2001. And what took us to the Western world, really, for my dad was education, more recognized, more tertiary education. But I mean, now I have my degree in ass whooping.
It's a good one. I mean, UFC, I mean, that fight, everyone has been looking at it, and Kelvin Castellum, the UFC 236 fight that you had in Atlanta in USA and all that. I mean, that's how did it happen? Because most people actually didn't give you a chance, because they were looking at, he's a Nigerian fight. We know we have Usman Kamaru who have been able to do that. But you coming into it and all that, not well known, the way Usman Kamaru was before he became a world champ and all that. How did it all happen?
For me, I got signed to the UFC February last year. Okay. And February this year, I fought Anderson Silva. So that was 5 fights in the span of 365 days. That's unheard of in the company.
Yeah.
A guy and I've been working, and that kind of shows my style, my wit. I fight smart. I don't get hurt very well, very often. So, yeah, I was able to fight 6 times in 14 months. And that fight was, I would say now, the hardest fight of my life. I thought Anderson Silva was the hardest fight for me because of the emotional barrier and mental barrier I had to get to the fight the guy I looked up to. And that fight for me was the hardest fight of my life. And I remember I said, like, after the 4th round, it was back and forth. In the 5th round, that was the last final round. I remember looking at him and I was like, you're not going to beat me. I'm willing to die. I was ready to go. And then I remember Ayabieko. I kept on saying that in my head, heart of a lion. And I watched him in that 5th round. I really just dusted him. I left him behind. I left him behind, and I left no doubt that I'm the middleweight champion of the world.
Okay, which is pretty cool one. You know what? We'll get back to you again, but we'll have to take a look at this clip where you actually
let me narrate for you. Let me go.
Where you actually met with the Ogun State governor. You know, you actually met with him where you were talking about, you know, what you've done, things that really get you going. You know, things that get you going. For instance, talked about having this fighting spirit in you, this confidence level in you, trying to always try harder most times, and that's what most people don't want to do, because in the Western world we've seen that most people usually, according to what you said, you know, they don't want to go ahead and do what they want to do because they're afraid of failure. But you put everything all out there and all that, knowing that when you fall, you always rise again. Every time.
I mean, we're Nigerians, and people say, like, why are you so confident? Why do you dance when you fight? Why do you talk to people and all this kind of stuff? I'm like, and I've seen it. For us Nigerians, we don't demonstrate, you know, we always show off. We're never shy to put ourselves out there. We're like peacocks, and we're sure of ourselves. So I've seen that in the Western world a lot. Like, a lot of people want to bring you down, and they'll try and say, like, oh, you know, if you fail, I wasn't really trying my best. I'm like, no, well, I tried my best, I failed, but guess what? Whenever I bounce down, whenever I hit the ground, I bounce back up. And that's my saving grace. So I know if I ever hit the ground, I'll come back up higher than I was before.
You know, I'm going to ask you this. I know you're going to educate me with this. A lot of fighters do have something that is peculiar to them, maybe the chokehold or something that, you know, so without revealing too much to your opponent.
I can tell them. I'll give them the blueprint, but I'll still beat them.
Without revealing too much to your opponent, what's that thing that's unique to you that's going to get any opponent down if they're careless with you?
Me, it's the way I look at the game, my mind. Like, a lot of fighting, a lot of people through the years I've been fighting, a lot of people, they get beat before they even step in the ring or in the cage with me, because they've seen the body of work I've done. And at this level though, a lot of people aren't really scared, but still, like UFC 230, Derek Brunson, I already beat him before I got into the cage. That was in New York. I smoked him in the 1st round. And I could see, leading up to the fight, that his antics, I was like, why are you scared? Relax. And I could smell the fear on him. I can taste it. It's like animalistic, almost primal. It's like you can almost feel his energy. Like, man, this guy, he doesn't want the smoke. So I gave him the smoke. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's my mind, and also the team I have behind me in Auckland, New Zealand, City Kickboxing. My head coach Eugene Behrman. He's a guy that pretty much, me and him, we work well like yin and yang. You know, like ice and water. It's a beautiful combination. You know, the ocean and the moon. And I respect that guy, and I like I said, after the belt, you know, I dedicated this belt to him, because without him, my career wouldn't be where it is.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's a remarkable one. Now, let's talk about development of these particular sports now. We understand, of course, we mentioned it earlier, Usman Kamaru, the first Nigerian, of course, to have a UFC title. And, of course, you, the second one. Now, both of you, you've actually put Nigeria in the map in a very, very spectacular and a good way. And I love what Governor Ibukele Amosu talked about when he mentioned it, that you're more like the pride of Nigeria right now. Now, you guys, how can you really combine, you know, to really maybe make the sport more popular, or those who want to go into the sport? Because it's like so many kids out there have so much energy right now. You had so much of it, football, kickboxing, taekwondo. You even had to start dancing and all that until finally you discovered, okay, this is where, you know, this is where the skills, or rather the talent is. Good dancer. You still dance, right? I've watched some of your fights.
I'll get smoked. I'll get smoked by all these kids now, but I was a really good dancer.
So how do you, such kids like that, how can you really help them, you know, to be involved in UFC?
I think just show up and be part of the culture. Like Kamaru right now, he would be here, but he's been fighting almost all of his UFC career with a broken foot, a fractured foot. So he's had surgery. He had to stay back and do a lot of rehab to look after his foot. And now he's got a fight scheduled with this boy, this Trump supporter guy. What's his name? I don't even know his name. But yeah, he's got a fight scheduled with him. He's going to smoke him. So after he beats him, and after I beat the Australian guy, Robert, then me and him will come back with our belts, me with 2 of them. And then we're gonna, show the people, like, yeah, we're bringing gold back to Africa, and show people that you don't have to just play football, because everyone's trying to play ball, and only a fraction make it. And I keep telling people, I'm the runt of my people. You look at Kamaru, he's a specimen, he's a beast, but I had to train myself. I had to believe in myself and my mind. I knew I had it in me, but I'm the runt of my people, of all the litter. You look around, you see all these kids, they get muscle, abs everywhere. I'm like, man, you don't need football. If I give you a boxing gloves, I teach you how to wrestle. If I teach you how to, kickbox, taekwondo, anything, they can be great at anything. Anything, not just fighting.
Talking about helping people, making the sport more popular. What do you have to say to people who, what they only throw in your face are the dangers of the sport, combat sport? The only thing they say, oh, this guy got a broken wrist, this guy got a this. What do you say to people who
look at football? How many injuries do they have all the time? People snap their ankles. People snap their shins. Even boxing itself. Someone was saying like, oh, respect to Anthony Joshua, was saying, oh, I like boxing more. It's more safe. I'm like, for where?
Yeah.
All you have in boxing is a lot of body shots and head damage, and you have two weapons to try and you see a lot of boxers, even American football now. They did a movie about it with Will Smith called Concussion.
Yes.
A lot of boxers.
So every sport has its own.
Exactly. There's danger in everything. I can walk down the streets, Okada or Keke, can't hit me. There's danger in everything you do. But in UFC, in MMA, that is, in mixed martial arts, the sport of mixed martial arts, the thing is the damage compared to boxing or anything else, rugby, American football, is you have many ways to win. It's not just, I'm going to hit you in the head repeatedly, and then you get knocked down. Okay, 1, 2, you get up, come get another one. You know what I mean? And then another head. This one, some guys, like my fight, because we're both tough people, it was really back and forth. So, but most fights end quickly, because if you get stopped, they follow you to the ground and finish you, or if you get caught in a submission.
5 seconds sometimes.
That's it, exactly. Sometimes
I think 3 seconds.
Yeah, 4 seconds was the fastest knockout in the UFC. So, like I said, 2:30, I finished the guy in round 1. I think maybe after 2 minutes or something. But yeah, there's dangers in anything you do. You can even, like I say, play golf. I'm sure there's dangers in golf, you know what I mean? But you just have to be able to brush past it and not look at the glass. Look at it half full. The glass is half full.
So seriously, you could look at a kid in the face and say, I want you to be like me. I want you to go to
don't be like me. I tell kids, don't be like me. Be like you. That's the thing.
I want you to do what I do.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's kids.
Without
we have
any
kids classes and stuff. We have a lot of kids doing mixed martial arts now, and they're doing it at a faster rate than us. They're learning really fast. So these kids, they're honestly, they get sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, fat kids. I love that because at the end of the day, usually, as you said, you can be yourself and be whoever you want to be. But then, if you find where your talent is, just take a look at that. Now, there's this undisputed fight with Robert Whittaker. Tell us about it.
So that guy, when I signed to the UFC, right? So New Zealand and Australia, they've had this rivalry in sports throughout the years. So and he was the champion at the time. He was the champion at the time because I'm the new champion. So, and his last fight even was before I got into the UFC. That was his last fight. He's injury prone. He's like, oh, my leg, I have hernia. I was willing to die in that fight. I was willing to die. Was he willing to die? Huh?
He wasn't ready.
Exactly. They don't want that smoke. So, for me, I said, before my first fight in the UFC, I said in 2019, I'm going to fight Robert Whittaker if he's still the champion at the time. I'm going to fight him in Auckland. But unfortunately, Auckland doesn't really have a big enough stadium. Africa does. Okay. Nigeria does. But I'm just saying, I wanted to fight him in Auckland, but we'll probably fight in Sydney. And he claims Sydney as his home. So it'll be a pleasure to take him out in his own backyard.
Okay.